What's your step at the moment? What's your...
So one of the things I'm keeping an eye on is that you can clearly see that the current price of Bitcoin is still below that June low right there of support, right? So we know that this is a drop. So this is technically a bearish inside bar pattern, bearish flaggish in spirit of bear flag. And it hasn't even been able to regain the price point from June. So for me, that's a major issue short term for Bitcoin. I still think we could go up and touch that line, but that'll be a level that I'm watching closely. I continue to be in the camp where this area down here, which I think is right around your 14,000, 13, 14 area here, 14, this is going to be a big level as well. And I do think eventually we retest that level on the downside.
Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to drop your comment and observations in the comment section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Now, for me, I kind of took it a step further when I was analyzing like where Bitcoin could bottom. I've been doing a lot of research because everyone wants to know where could Bitcoin bottom. And obviously, please keep in mind that this is just an opinion based on charting and history. But for me, I basically took FTX's fiasco. If FTX is kind of that scenario for the crypto markets, it puts the bottom on Bitcoin somewhere in the, I would say, the May to June period, right? That 5-6 months out from now period. And it probably puts us right around the $10,000 to $9,000 range. The reason I like 10,000 in terms of a break point and thinking that we could break that on Bitcoin is simply that that's going to be where max pain is probably initiated for most crypto investors. So we know psychologically, investors probably will put stops at 10,000. We know that psychologically that's going to be like, oh my goodness, if Bitcoin ever breaks 10,000, it's going to be a fiasco. Everyone's going to freak out about it, which oftentimes can be the marker of a low in a chart or in an asset.
Do you feel the market is that you spoke about max pain? Do you think the market still has more damage to be done emotionally to the people before we can just start to make its way up? Okay, interesting.
I mean, there's no doubt that you haven't reached that and the reason you can tell that is because you still see people posting on Twitter and stuff like that. Oh, the low is in. I mean, here we go. And every $100 uptick in Bitcoin, it seems like that's kind of the thing that people are saying. And the key to bottoms is when people are just like, it's like crickets, right? Everyone's just depressed. No one's saying anything positive. You even get people saying that Bitcoin will not be here in a year or two. I mean, that's really the marker. And by the way, that's again the psychological side that all of us that are education fiends for crypto or anything, you have to be ready to withstand. You go back to your thesis and you say, is my thesis still valid even when I'm saying this? Because it's going to make people, even like myself, question myself. And you have to be strong enough to just say, no, this is the thesis. This is what happens in bear markets. Let's withstand it and let's look for that reversal. Bear markets are the place where people make their money, right? I mean, this is where it's not when you're buying at 65 or 69,000 on Bitcoin where your risk reward is horrendous. It's when the market is decimated and you're getting an asset that has major future value at such discounted levels. So, I mean, always remember that bear markets, if you know how to trade them, it's better than anything in the world in terms of generating money. But just keep in mind that one of the keys to withstanding the emotional pressure of like a bear market is make sure not to over allocate funds, right? So the biggest thing is when you put a small amount of money into an asset, and let's say you start buying a little Bitcoin, you dangle into it a little bit. You have to remember that if you put too much money in, when that asset goes against you, you're going to react emotionally because you're uncomfortable having invested so much. So it's very important to kind of decide ahead of time for each trade, what's your comfort level? If you have a full position of Bitcoin, are you going to be comfortable if it goes to 9,000? Because again, the market will figure out, and just some amazing way it does this, it knows how to attack you if you over allocate funds, and it will make you do the wrong thing at the wrong time. And chasing is the worst thing you can do. And I always like to use the analogy of like, for some reason, investors, they're willing to like pay higher prices, or in the case of shorting, pay lower prices. But like when we go to the mall to buy some jeans or a pair of shoes, we don't go to the mall and, we see it on sale at $100 one week. And then the next week it's $500 for that same pair of jeans. We don't go, oh my God, I got to buy 10 pair of jeans. Like you say, no, like, let me wait for this thing, So it's interesting because every year in the markets, it could be commodities, stocks, or crypto or anything else, there's always a bull market somewhere. And generally these things tend to repeat over and over. So I wish I had some master formula, but it's honestly, it was going through it so many times where you get caught in it in the beginning, then you start to it's like touching a hot stove. You get burned a couple times and you're like, wait a minute. And then it's kind of starting that discipline road. You start to kind of recognize the cues. You say, listen, don't get caught up in the hype. And it's kind of building that framework for being that trader, where you become much more robotic, right? It's not about the emotion. You learn to not chase things when they're running up and everyone else is chasing. So it was learning from experience, in my early years as a trader.
It gets really tough to actually stick to it.
Well, and the toughest thing is to not flip, right? I mean, you've watched it go up X amount and then to not, you're going to get, the markets tend to they're going to push everyone to their limits, right? Even myself, when Bitcoin last year was hitting that 69,000, it was just above that April high. I mean, I couldn't help but say, whoa, could I, is this one of those times where I'm going to be wrong? And again, it's just saying, I guess part of it too is that always remember that there's always another trade, right? So you may miss Bitcoin, you may miss this crypto going higher, 10xing, but the discipline is what's going to ground you to not get caught off guard. And if you miss one, it's okay because there's another one coming around the turn, right? So you have to always remind yourself of that. And you will be wrong sometimes. Sometimes things will go up and you're not on board. But just remember that it's that discipline that is going to hold you safe. And being safe as a trader, every time I go in a trade now, I go in thinking I might be wrong, versus a lot of retail, when they go into a trade, they're already calculating how they're going to spend all the money that they're going to make, right? And it's going in thinking you could be wrong, that mentality that keeps you from putting your whole account in one trade, which obviously is not a good idea. And also preparing, how are you going to trade around that position if you need to? Where are you